We'll put up these ads which have me and my family in them, because that's how we like to position our content, is sort of talking directly from the brand owners and the ones that have been out there talking to people. So we're putting up those ads, and then we'll have people commenting on them saying, oh, I met Cameron at the farmer's market. And then we have other people seeing those ads and coming to the farmer's market and going, oh, I've seen you online. Can I try this?
You're listening to Customer Growth Sessions, presented by Intergrowth, where we talk through strategies to help up-and-coming e-commerce businesses bring in more customers. I'm your host, Pat Ahern. Let's jump in.
All right, listeners, welcome back to the latest episode of Customer Growth Sessions. Today, I'm thrilled to have Cameron Bignell, the Managing Director over at Eden Orchards, onto the podcast. Cam, welcome on.
Good to be here.
Yeah, man, I've been so excited for this episode. Ever since Michael at Two Dudes recommended you, I was so psyched when we were able to get you on. You have a really cool story.
Yeah, well, I listened to his one just before this, so hopefully I can provide the listeners some good answers.
Absolutely. Let's start with an overview of Eden. What is Eden Orchards?
So Eden Orchards is my family's business, and we are a juice maker. So we make high-value beverages from cherries, blueberries, nectarines, and it's all 100% pure juice using fruit that would otherwise be discarded. And it's fruit juice that has a natural health benefit to it. So cherries are good for sleeping, blueberries are good for your brain, and all of them are high in antioxidants.
I love it. And how did you personally get involved with the business? How did you get started?
So I was pretty much born into the fruit growing industry. So my dad started planting cherries when he was sort of 30 plus years ago. Ever since I grew up, we were working on a cherry orchard. We were selling cherries at farmers markets. And then naturally that was my life and my siblings' life. One thing that we noticed sort of as I got into my later teens is that we were throwing away a lot of our seconds. So fruit that was just had a cosmetic defect, tastes beautiful, but there was just no market for it. So New Zealand, it's a small market. There was nowhere that we could actually sell that processing grade fruit. And so I went to university, had a fun time, learned a lot, studied a commerce degree, so learned about business, majoring in accounting and finance, and then decided that I wanted to start a business that had something to do with business and accounting, but also was sort of rooted, I guess, in agriculture or horticulture. So it was this perfect amalgamation of starting a small business, but also using my family roots and being able to take that fruit and turn it into a juice. So that's how we started.
That's amazing. And I just have to mention as a quick aside that you were living, I think, my wife's dream job, being able to be surrounded by cherries all day. It's maybe her favorite food in the world. So she'll love hearing this podcast once it comes out.
Yeah, there's nothing like it. Walking through the orchard and you sort of see the perfect cherry and you eat that and you go, right, I'm done because I've had 2 kilos already today. And then you just see the next one and you're like, that is the perfect cherry. And so you pick the next one and it just goes on and on and on.
Oh man, she's cherry season, particularly when we were living in Denver. She would have multiple nights for dinner where cherries would be her entire dinner. It'd start with her grabbing a bag at the grocery store on her way home from work, and then a couple hours later, I'd say, hey, what do you want to do for dinner? And she'd look at me and say, oh no, I'm good. I'll skip dinner tonight. So I can imagine you guys deal with the same.
We like people like her. Yeah.
Oh man. Well, Cam, you guys have such a fascinating way that you get in front of customers and ultimately sell customers over time. I describe it as like a 2-part strategy that you really employ. Can you tell listeners about what you guys are doing to get new customers for Eden?
Yeah, sure. So I guess our first strategy is it's a grassroots strategy. So what we do is we take our product to farmers markets all around the country. So in New Zealand is where we started. And what we do is we go there. We started with 1 farmers market a weekend, went to 2, went to 10 went to 20. So we started employing people all around New Zealand going to farmers markets. The reason for that is because when we launched the pure cherry juice, it was a new product on the market. So people hadn't had it before. They didn't know the benefits of cherries. So we sort of had to educate the customers and create the market for our own product. But what we actually found when we were doing that was that we were getting this instant feedback from people, and we were able to sort of test our marketing pitch. So we were able to sort of throw out these one-liners and see what stops people and see what turns their heads. And then from that, we thought, okay, great, we've sort of perfected our sort of one-liners in our marketing pitch. Let's use that information that we found from our customers and use that on our Facebook ads. The second part of the strategy is really just to create engaging content and using those nice one-liners that we found on our Facebook ads, and we target other customers through their online platform. So it's a good two-pronged strategy, that one.
I love it. And I talk to so many people who look at farmers markets as, I think describing it as like a necessary evil in the early stages would be a fair descriptor of it, where a lot of business owners think, okay, farmers markets, if we just do massive volume in the early days, it takes up a lot of time, basically give away all our Saturdays, Sundays, but it can be a really good way to get those early sales. And a lot of those founders, once they start driving sales from other channels, they're like, oh, good, I'm done with farmers markets. Like I can get away from those. And I love it that as you built this business, that's still such a core strategy. I'm curious for you personally, how many farmers markets are you going to, let's say in like a typical month? Is it every other weekend you're going to one? What does that frequency look like?
So right now we've launched in Australia since then, and we're just coming on launching into Singapore too. But I'll just talk about New Zealand and Australia, which is sort of our more established markets. We typically have every weekend 6 farmers markets on a Saturday and 6 on a Sunday. And what we do also is run about 15 big trade shows in Australia a year and 15 in New Zealand. So those are the good food and wine shows, the baby expos, the wellness expos, anything that we can get what we call liquid on lips, because that's where we need people to actually try our product. As you said, we actually went away from that once we thought that we had found this other great channel, which is, through the e-commerce store. But then we sort of lost touch with our customers a little bit. We came out with new products. We hadn't tried those products with people at farmers markets, and it didn't perform as well. And especially when we launched in Australia, we thought, well, the Australians are pretty much Kiwis, we're cousins across the Tasman, but our Facebook ads didn't land. So we thought that we had it right in New Zealand. And then when we pitched it online to the Australian customers, we didn't get the right ROAS. We didn't get the conversions that we needed. So that's where we said, hey, let's get back to the farmers market model. We went there, we tested more hooks. We realized that we're actually quite different people, and we needed to change our messaging. So ever since then, we've continued to go back there and learn and trial our new products with them, and, just see what's happening out there. We have some pretty rough years recently for the world, and actually to get in front of the customers and to learn what they're thinking is really important.
Cam, I love this. So I'm going to narrow this question a little bit. For other business owners, let's say that are running, I'm going to describe it as any sort of consumable business, whether it's, liquid, whether it's a, food-based item. Would you recommend, generally speaking, that they take the same approach? That they're going to multiple farmers markets on a typical week, really just using it as that same opportunity to learn about customers? Or would you say that Eden is unique in that sense?
I would recommend it for everyone. I think it's impossible for all style of companies to do, but any companies that are positioning themselves as like a family-owned brand or a grassroots brand, I think is really important, because what we actually find is that it helps us on a day-to-day basis with our Facebook ads. So we'll put up these ads which have me and my family in them, because that's how we like to position our content, is sort of talking directly from the brand owners and the ones that have been out there talking to people. So we're putting up those ads, and then we'll have people commenting on them saying, oh, I met Cameron at the farmer's market. And then we have other people seeing those ads and coming to the farmers market and going, oh, I've seen you online. Can I try this? So it's actually just really good. It's a really good business marriage, really, that Facebook stuff online and then in person. So I would recommend it for anyone. You get a lot out of it. It's great cash flow because you get instant, cash for your stock. And it's just a really good, cheap way to know your customers really well.
Hey, listeners, if you're terrified about what AI means for how customers are going to find you online, I have some good news for you. SEO, Meta ads, Google ads, these platforms are still going to drive the lion's share of your new customers over the next 5 years. But these platforms are evolving. At Intergrowth, we help e-commerce brands to future-proof their revenue and to scale more profitably through SEO and Meta ads. If you're interested in learning more, book a free strategy session with our team at intergrowth.com/CGS. Once again, that's intergrowth.com/CGS. Now, one of the assumptions I have from what you shared about the farmers market, you mentioned, and I'm sorry if I botch your words here, I think you said liquid on lips, which I assume is we want to get as many of our potential customers as possible to try as many of our products as possible at the farmers market. I would say, like in my college years, I was someone who would go to the farmers market and would just get as many free samples as I could. And now, 10 years later, I'm now the person who tries a free sample and instantly feels like I need to buy the product to make up for that.
Yeah.
But I'm curious, you go to the farmers market. Talk me through what's going on behind the scenes. How are you structuring things to make sure it's as successful as possible? Is it, hey, sales are secondary. We just want people trying this. We want to get their feedback. How are you approaching that? What's the internal goals you're looking at?
Look, we just want as many people as possible to sample the product. So we have one person that's standing there calling out. It doesn't have to be really over the top, but it's just, hey, would you like to try some cherry juice? It's overlooked how important that is because, I tell my staff that are on there when training them, don't let anyone walk past the site without inviting them to try. Because you can see people glancing over thinking, well, what is that? But people want to be invited in. Otherwise, it's that natural barrier that they're sort of walking in the middle of the path and sort of looking to the left, looking to the right, almost not wanting to come over and be drawn in without, being invited. So yeah, it's really important just to engage with people. And look, they come to the farmers market for the human contact, really. They want to come talk to the people about the product, find out about it. Otherwise, they just go to an upmarket supermarket, which you can find just as good produce there sometimes. But they're actually going there to meet the people. So just be engaging, make sure you've got adequate staff on there, because with a product like ours, which is a bit more premium, it's not a really quick moving juice. People actually want to find out, well, why is it good for my sleep? What's involved in making it? What are the ingredients? So you need one person that is standing there educating, telling them all about where you can buy it, where you can find it in stores after this, and then one person just pouring samples. Because often that person they almost get vertigo looking down, looking up. They don't quite have that conversational switch turned on yet.
Would love to hear how you come up with some of these hook ideas that you can use to invite people in. I'd love to hear about what are some of the questions that you and the team are posing on a regular basis to learn about customers, particularly maybe pain points or concerns that they haven't shared with you in the past.
Well, so the first one, what we do is we actually just have fun with it. And that's why it's quite good to have more than one person at the farmers market, because what you're doing is there aren't people around. You're actually just having a good time, joking around with each other, saying, right, what are we going to do now? We sort of yell out and go, stop thinking, start drinking, and will that stop someone? And, that's one of my favorite ones. But it's just having a good time. We now that we've got a bigger marketing team, we often have a sort of marketing meeting a weekly, and if we're going to go to a bigger show, we just talk about it and say, well, what's a good hook? What's a good line? Is there anything we want to find out from customers? And so that sort of feeds into those discussions we have at the farmers market. And at the market too, we're just really getting that instant reaction of people. So we're giving them a sample of the juice, and we're really wanting to see that first split second after they try it. That tells us more than what their words do afterwards when we ask them, do you like it? Is it better than the competition? Actually, just looking and seeing that almost that instant reaction as soon as they drink it, whether it's tasty or not, whether it's too sweet or too sour.
Amazing. And I'd love to hear a little about that debrief, because especially you mentioned typical Saturday, 6 farmers markets, typical month, you're doing 6 farmers markets on Saturdays, 6 on Sundays, and that's not to mention all the trade shows. So how do you structure that debriefing schedule with the team to uncover all the learnings that different reps on the team had, bring that together, and figure out how you can ultimately add that into the meta creative strategy?
Well, a lot of that just happens from our staff. They just sort of feed it into us. So we're sort of telling them, hey, after the farmers market, if you've got any particularly strong things that have come from it, then please, send it up to us so that we can refine the product and feed it back to you so that you can sell more. One thing that we've done now is we actually have quite a few contractors, so they buy the product and sell the product as well. For some of those trickier farmers markets that we can't get to or find staff in, because that could be hard for a business owner trying to run staff all around New Zealand. But the way to do that is then they're sort of incentivized to feed us back as much information as possible to make the product better and to make our labeling better and our call to actions and even our online ads, because then it will get people down to the farmers market to buy. So that's one way we do it. The other is actually the brand owners, me, my mum, my dad, getting down there ourselves to all of those, the bigger trade shows, because that's something that actually has to start from the top if you're wanting to make some real change, particularly with the product and with the brand. It really needs to come from us, because otherwise it's, it just gets lost in all of the other things that, us as business owners have to do. But if we see how important it is for people and see how recurring the issue is from the customer, then we'll take action on it.
And unfortunately, I'm sure there are listeners hearing this right now that are saying, damn you, Cam, I thought I was almost done with farmers markets, but I'm hearing never be done with farmers markets. Keep on going to them. You can learn so much there.
Absolutely. I would love to say that I take everyone's opinions, equally, but if one of your staff members comes up and says, hey, I've got this idea, let's change the product. A lot of the time we're thinking, yeah, that's good, but man, that's a lot of work. You get in your head, you're like, okay, that's another couple of hours each night to get that done. But then if your staff member says that, and then you go to a farmer's market and you hear 500 people mention that the bottle size is too big, or that there's not appropriate labeling on this, in big enough font saying that it's cherry juice, we thought it was something else, then you're sort of spurred on to actually, put your head down and do the work.
Amazing. And I want to go back to one of the things you mentioned a minute ago with the brand owners getting involved in the farmers markets, continuing to stay involved, because that theme also resonates with everything you're doing on the meta ad side of things. With meta ads, and listeners, if you go to the Facebook ads library and you look at Eden Orchard's ads, you'll see Cam on nearly every one of these ads that are there. Why are you still the one personally doing all these ads?
With our business, it all started with our family, and it started that we are this 100% pure product. So there's no added sugars, there's no preservatives. It's literally one ingredient in our cherry juice, which is cherries. And so that sort of started as this, we're real, we are talking directly to you, there's nothing else in the bottle. We sort of thought, well, let's take that to our marketing approach too. So let's get me in an orchard, because, the whole thing is we started this from our family's orchard. Let's talk directly to people. Let's make it actually as little editing as possible. So we're putting on subtitles because, a lot of our people want subtitles, but the first ones that we did that performed really well didn't even have subtitles. They weren't edited at all. It was just a video of me on the orchard explaining about the product. And it worked really well. We started doing more and more, and those ads were converting. We tried to go down a different path of getting some, more design content and maybe getting some other people involved, getting UGC ads, and they just didn't convert as well. And so we've sort of decided, in a world that is full of AI and is full of content creation, let's try and cut through with as much real content as possible, and something that can't be faked, really. Our juice isn't made with fake stuff. It's made with real stuff. Let's give them as much real, honest content as possible.
Man, amazing. And it's so cool looking at your ad structure that you have from what we can see in Facebook ads library. And listeners, I want to share my screen here just to give you a visual of one of these behind the scenes ads. And by no means is this like an out of this world example. This is the type of stuff that you'll see across a lot of the ads that Eden's rolling. So what I will say, listeners, if you're listening to this as an audio podcast right now, one, fast forward a minute. This isn't going to be relevant for you if you're, let's say, driving. But two, if you have the ability to pull up this link on YouTube, definitely do so. You'll be able to see the video of this ad. I'll share my screen here and we'll take a look.
It's as pure as they come. Let me show you how we make it. We get these beautiful cherries that are all grown in New Zealand. They're all sun ripened. They're the best cherries in the world, and they go up the conveyor into our special juice machine, which I can't show you that because that's a trade secret. Now, what's your step? As we come around here, we get 2 kilos of cherries in every bottle of juice. Isn't that right, Dad? Yeah. Dad here makes the juice and I sell it. It's a good team. That's good. Oh, that's beautiful. Beautiful. All right, now come through. We don't put anything in the juice. All we do is we heat the juice up, put it in the bottle, and cap it to preserve it. So there's no preservatives at all. All it is beautiful cherry juice. Now, once we've got a complete bottle of juice, it's ready to drink. And all you need is 50 mils a night. You can just ask our 5,000 plus customers that have left 5-star reviews on our website, www.edenorchards.co.nz. So if you come on through, 1 bottle of juice, just needs a label, and then it's ready to drink. So it'll go through, pick up a label, and then it's ready to go in your fridge, crank it open. It tastes much better when it's chilled. Now, I know what you're asking. Where can I buy this stuff? You can either buy it from a stockist, so we've got over 500 stockists across Australia and New Zealand, or you can go to our website, as mentioned before, www.edenorchards.co.nz. Now, we sell online. It's free shipping all over New Zealand and Australia. We send it out within 1 to 2 working days, and it'll be with you within 3 to 4 working days. Got lots of flavors: blueberry, peach, nectarine, lots of cherry mixes. Get it today. Whew. Done.
Hey listeners, reaching out with a big favor request. If you have taken anything of value away from the podcast, could you take a minute and leave us a review on whatever podcasting platform you're tuning in on? Whether that be Apple, Spotify, you name it, it would mean the world to us. Helps other listeners just like you to find the podcast and helps us to grow our following. Similarly, if you're on YouTube, give our page a follow, give this video a thumbs up. It all, again, helps us to grow the podcast. With that, back to the show.
Cam, there is so much gold in there. One, it's as you said, the authenticity of doing the behind the scenes. Hey, this is me. I'm Cam. I'm one of the heads of the company. Oh yeah, by the way, here's my dad. He makes the juice. I'm going to drink it while I'm walking through it. I'm going to show you the whole production line minus the cherry harvesting machine, which is a trade secret. And then to show here's the bottling, here's everything else, sprinkling in the customer reviews. I think you said 5,000 positive customer reviews, 500 different stores that we're located in, which means, hey, bare minimum, there's at least 500 different stores that are selling this in store outside of our actual website. I love this. Listeners, definitely give that a second watch if you go on Facebook ads library. And as I said, there's a ton of ads just like this one. To me, this is the most authentic way you can roll out ads. This is brilliant how you guys did this.
Thank you. It took a few takes, but we got there. And I think what actually helped with the takes, because it might have been 5 or 6, so it wasn't too much. But with that long form content where it's not really scripted because it needs to be honest, that's actually where you're halfway through and your mind's just thinking, well, what else am I going to say? And then it just defaults to your days at the farmer's market, right? It defaults to you've been serving thousands of people a day, giving them juice, and you just almost go on to this automatic sales mode because you've learnt it all and you realize what works with customers.
That's amazing. Talk to me a little about maybe the typical weekly creative output and the amount of time that you invest into that creative output. So what I mean by that is typical week, how many different meta ads creatives are you testing out, and how long does it take? Let's strictly say you. There's obviously a lot of team members behind the scenes that are contributing as well.
Yeah.
But for you personally, Cam, how much time are you committing on a typical week to putting together these ads?
To be honest, not too much, Pat. I might spend a couple hours filming, if that, a week, and then it goes off. I film the content, and then I upload it. My editor, who's great, she can get out anything that I've missed or anything that I've said wrong. She sort of cuts that out nice and slyly, but it just gets quicker and quicker. So what we do over the cherry season is actually pack a whole week of filming it. And we just go, you know what? We're just going to do it all in a week. The cherries are here. It's when we're juicing because it's quite a seasonal manufacturing time for us. So we actually just dedicate a week to it and really lean into it. And that's great because you get better and better as you're doing more and more takes. You sort of realize what to stay away from. I can't say that because we don't have that product in Australia or in Singapore or whatever. And we actually just film hundreds of hours of content over a week. And then I just top it up as needed during the year. So each week I might, if we're doing sale ads or any special promos, I'll just film, an hour, maybe 2 hours a week. And that's all we need to sort of keep it going.
Man, that's amazing. And I love that approach of saying, hey, we're going to have ultimately a week that is really film intensive. We'll handle the editing from there. But ultimately, what I'm hearing is let's get 90% of all filming done in this 1 week span, knowing that we might have to make some touch ups from there. But we're ultimately going to have all of our creative ready to go for the upcoming year. Yeah.
And it's a bit easier to wrap your head around when you're like, great, okay, I'll do this, but I'll do it for 1 week. And look, I'm going to get sick of it by the end of it. I actually have in my marketing team, there's just one person, one guy that he's like my hype man, right? He's like, okay, stop. We're just going to stop here. Like, you've lost all enthusiasm. We're going to take a break and you go eat some cherries. That's your happy place. You go and have like 10 minutes where you're not being filmed. And then I just need you to like smile and like get back into it. And just that little bit of humor like just wakes you up and you're like, right, actually I have realized that I've gone into a bit of a trance. But it's really good to just get that content down and then know that, hey, when I do it each week, that's going to be the more unique stuff. And we've got this awesome pile of stuff to draw from. Yeah.
That's amazing. I think that's every founder's dream to have a hype man that's there to get them psyched whenever they're starting to go through the motions. That's amazing.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Oh man. I'm trying to think where I wanted to go next with meta ads. There's so many different themes I want to pick your brain on here. Cam, you guys are doing all of the meta ads campaigns in-house, and I'll leave it up to you whether you want to talk about the volume you're doing on meta ads in terms of typical investments that you're putting into meta ads, but we'll say it's a pretty significant budget that we're putting into meta ads right now. You guys are running this all in-house. I think a lot of other businesses would have brought on an agency at this point to run meta ads for them. Talk to me about why you're not working with an agency and you're doing this all in-house.
I probably don't have a real good technical answer for you. A lot of it is just that we know our customers better than anyone. And we started it ourselves. And so we started running it and we wanted to be able to control where things went and what content ultimately was put up. So that's why we started doing it ourselves. We found that it was really good for our staff to learn the processes while doing it. And then we actually trialed an agency. And when we trialed an agency, their business model didn't work for us the way that they were doing it. We got our ROAS went down. They keep saying, hey, we need more content. And they were sort of focusing on a numbers game. And then we took it back in-house and we said, no, actually, we were doing better than this. We didn't actually know why we were doing better until we took it back. And then a lot of it was because we realized that our target market were sort of 40-plus females, healthy and wealthy, we call them. But a lot of them liked reading and watching all of the videos. So our average age of our customer is about 60. And so they really like to watch all of the video, and eventually, even if the ROAS wasn't performing as good as it should do, and that would be the time that an agency would cut it and they'd say, no, we've tested it, we're going to get rid of it. We would actually just leave it up almost on gut feel, knowing that actually we've run this ad before, a similar ad, and it took some time, but it did perform. It was almost like a bit of a no, we know this is a good ad, it's got good information in it. We know that these pictures at the farmers market works, and we let it run a lot longer. And eventually what would happen is our customers would, our good customers from the farmers market would start commenting on there saying, hey, great video. And then that sort of spiraled, and more would comment on it. And then they're always picked back up. To answer your question, a little bit of gut feel, but also that we just knew that this piece of content was good, and let's just really lean into it. When we ask an agency, they sort of would cut it too soon. They had these preconceived notions of what works and what doesn't, and what's best industry practice, and it just didn't work for us. So now we do it ourselves. It's great for us. We can scale things up and down as we need. If we know that we've got a big sale coming up, they might have ramped up the spend, when now we know actually let's just hold off for a bit and let our customers, cool off because we've been spamming them for the last month. But we know something big's coming, and that's sort of where, at least in-house, we can make those decisions. And it seems to be working really well for us now.
That's amazing. And it's such a textbook example of the dangers of just relying too heavily on, call it the best practices. I'm sure we're doing a lot of those best practices as well. But if you can't pick your head up and say, hey, this, what is traditionally a best practice, isn't working for this unique use case, like we need to stray from this. We need to do what works specifically for our brand. What's the point? So I love that. You guys said, hey, some of these best practices don't work for us. We know that these other things do work. Let's go back to doing this in-house. Let's do it our way that we know works really well for our customer base. I love it.
Yeah.
I want to pick your brain on what I'm going to refer to as creative ideation. You mentioned 1 week a year is just nonstop filming week, putting together ads for the entire year, especially given the volume that you're doing on Meta ads. I would imagine that's a really significant number of ads, probably a lot of different types of formats that you're putting together for videos. One, tell me more about how you come up with ideas for ads. And two, do you almost have dedicated brainstorming sessions with the team where you're sitting down, mapping out the ads? Is it, there's an ongoing note, let's say, that people can contribute to? How do you collect those ideas and really make sure that you have like creative time set aside to pull those together?
Yeah, because we only film once a year, we've got weekly marketing meetings, and any time that an idea for a new video comes up that we don't have the content for, then we'll just keep a list on. It might even be Google Sheets or Google Docs or something. It doesn't have to be really high tech, but we do have a list of all of the good ideas that we've had throughout the year on our sort of weekly marketing meetings that either we don't have the time to create this year or we don't have the right content for it. So we're sort of having those weekly brainstorming sessions, and the people that are in those meetings often feed in, hey, I've had this email from a customer and these are some concerns, or here's some feedback from our comments. So all of the ads that we're running at the moment, everyone's asking, well, are you sold in Australia? And although our website talks to that, it's, well, maybe we should do a video specifically designed to say, look, Australians, we're here, we are making it from New Zealand product, but it's far better than Australian, and let me tell you why. So all of those things sort of come from our weekly meetings, where we just accumulate this list of things that are issues that customers have seen, or questions they want answered, and we say, right, let's tackle those first. And then, because we have quite a fun production time with a whole lot of moving parts and lots of transient staff, and it's quite a fun cherry season, we're often just asking them on the spot, saying, well, you don't know anything about our product. What do you want to know? What would convince you to buy? And we're actually just quite open with it. We just say, what do you want to see? And we give it a go.
That's amazing. Cam, this has been such a great episode. Any parting wisdom that you would give, let's say particularly to founders that are looking to start breaking into farmers markets, one, or two, maybe they are starting to run meta ads in-house, but they're early stage, they haven't found success with it, and they're really trying to figure out how to crack the code on meta ads?
Yeah, meta ads was tough for us right at the beginning. There was almost this turning point where we almost stopped because it wasn't converting, and we were putting, I don't know, $10 a day and $20 a day. And then we really put some good spend behind one of the videos that we knew was good. You know when you've filmed a good ad and you've edited it and it looks good, it's appealing, it's short and sharp. And so we thought, actually, let's just put a decent spend behind it. I think we put $100 a day or something behind it, and then it started converting, and it all sort of snowballed from there. We just thought, okay, this channel is going to work. So I guess give it a proper go before you give it a go and then just turn it off. Really lean into it, and it's not going to work for everyone, but if it does, at least you can say that you've given it a proper crack before deciding whether it is or isn't for you. Another one is just that farmers markets. You sort of mentioned, how do you start that? Just as simple as going to one, I think. Even, you'll be able to find a farmers market that you can get down to. For us, we've just entered Singapore, and it's as important as anything else that we get over there and we go to farmers markets. We've been running ads over there, and they don't have any background of eating orchards. There's no, hey, I saw this in a shelf, or I, heard from a cousin, or whatever about your product. But running the ads there and going to a show, we went to the boutique show, that worked really well. And so we'll continue doing that. It's a very different market, but the farmers markets or shows are just as important, because we're now refining those ads, and it's now working really well with ads over there. So I'd just say, yeah, give it a go. You'll never regret getting down to a farmer's market, because if people, really don't like your product, then there's probably something that needs changed in it, unfortunately. And I've been through that, and then you just make it better, and then eventually it'll work.
Cam, I love this. For listeners that want to buy their first bottle of Eden Orchards cherry juice, where can they buy you guys online?
edenorchards.co.nz. We sell New Zealand, Australia, Singapore. If you want to know which other markets, or if you want us to enter those other markets, just send us an email, show us the demand, and we'll come over there.
I love it. Once again, listeners, this is Cam Bignell, the managing director over at Eden Orchards. Cam, thank you for coming on today.
Thanks, Pat. Had a great time.
Thanks for tuning in to Customer Growth Sessions. If you found it helpful, subscribe and give us a review. It helps us to grow the show. Looking for more SEO guidance on how to grow your business? Contact us at intergrowth.com/estimator, or email me directly. You can reach me at pat@intergrowth.com. That's all for today. We'll see you again soon.